realize how wonderful it was to have this. Well, there's a little word called peace. And we think, yeah, peace, okay, the Lord gives us peace, yeah, okay. Doesn't excite our hearts when it should. And I wish you'd think on this thought. In the book of Revelation, there was a scroll that Jesus unloosed the 7 seals from that. And under the second seal, does anybody know without looking what the second seal was? Okay. It was a red horse, and it took peace from the earth. Have you ever thought how your life would be if you could not find one solitary moment of peace? You could search all you wanted, and you couldn't find any peace. Nothing but turmoil, anguish, hatred, bitterness. Everywhere you looked, you couldn't escape it. I think that would be a very miserable place to live in. But there's an old song, and you guys can help us if you want. I guess you want. But I'm going to be in the key of G. And I was raised in a Methodist church, and I learned this as a boy in church. They tell me Grandpa Hall used to sing it. You could hear him all the way down to Underwood, Indiana, where I was raised. And it's one of the most precious songs. It talks about the peace of God. Far away in the depths of my spirit tonight goes a melody sweeter than song. In celestial like strains it unceasingly falls. My soul like an like this verse real well. And methinks when I rise to that city of peace, where the author of peace I shall meet, that one strain of the song that the ransom will sing in that heavenly kingdom, it shall be. For there is peace, oh, such wonderful peace. It's coming down from the Father above. Oh, sweep over my spirit forever, I pray, in fathomless billows of love. One more verse. My soul, are you here without comfort or rest, marching down the rough pathway of time? Here's what you do. Make Jesus your friend ere the shadows grow dark. Oh, accept this sweet peace so sublime. For peace, oh, there's such wonderful peace, and it's coming down from the Father above. Oh, sweep over my spirit forever, I pray, in fathomless billows of. Do the chorus one more time and sing it with us. Well, oh, there is wonderful peace. It's coming down from the Father above. So sweep over my spirit forever, I pray, in fathomless billows of love. One of my favorite songs. You don't know how valuable it is to lay down at night and rest. And there's some people can't do that. Can I step up here and use this microphone? Oh, now we've done it. Just takes the touch of the master's hand there to do that. Real quickly, let me get into a couple of stories, what the pastor was sharing with you. 35 years ago or something like that, I wanted to do something for the Lord. Felt like I was called to preach. I'd already tried my hand at it a little bit. Went to Bible school, of all places, in Cleveland, Tennessee. That was 50-something years ago, believe it or not. Yeah, I'm that old. And anyway, there just wasn't anybody ready to give me a chance. They all felt like it wasn't the Lord's time, and I felt like it was the Lord's time. So I didn't know what to do, and I just wait on the Lord, brother. I kept waiting, but, I found out that the waiting game was never going to be over. So I happened through my wife entering a little contest, a little Bible quiz on a radio station over in Wycliffe, Kentucky. And I went over there one time to collect her prize that she won for answering a Bible quiz question. And, I was talking to him. I said, well, would you think a guy like me that'd ever, have a radio broadcast? They said, yeah. You would? How much does it cost? I said, well, for 30 minutes a week, if we give you one program, 30 minutes, that'd be $120 a month. I said, well, that's all I got's 120. They said, well, do it 1 month, and if it doesn't work out, then you just, well, there's nothing to lose here. So I did it, and I wound up being on there for 5 years. And from that, I was invited to pastor churches. I preached in camp meetings. I preached up in Chicago. I made trips to Mexico. And it all started from just going over there and preaching on the radio. Well, a while back, I got the idea, everybody else is online and everything. Why don't we just get online? So I did, and we made it clear, said this is not a replacement for church attendance. We did it on 3 o'clock Sundays afternoon, give people time to eat and everything, sit back with their, and then they could watch it if they wanted. We don't have a lot of views, between 200 and 300, or I think there's 200 and some odd views on the last one we did. But that's more than I'd have if I rented a building somewhere, and plus that, I began to get messages from all over the world. I went, holy, and there was one guy that even traveled from New Zealand over here and visited with us in our living room. Said, I watched you. Said, you. In fact, I just got a message on WhatsApp the other day. He said, I'm going to another preaching engagement. Said, I was watching your message, so blessed by your message. I don't need a lot of pats on the back, but to know you're doing some good. And, I just don't want to spend my years here and they're just all spent. And if you really live your life, I don't care if you live 100 years and God is out of the picture, you really just lived 100 years that didn't mean a whole lot. May have loved some family members or whatever, but there's no eternal value in what you've done with your life. And so I'd done all I could there for a while. Things slowed down. And long story short, we started hearing that, and some of them done some amazing things. One said, well, while I was in America, said, I got a little of the American cash left over, and said, I want to send it to you so you can take your wife out to eat. Okay. I thought maybe he had 20 or 30, 40, $50 left over. I got 2 envelopes from him, 10 days apart. They each had $500 in them. I said, boy, you want me to take her out to a pretty good dinner. And then he sent me a book that he wrote, and as I opened it, there was another $1,000 in the book, I said, goodness. Well, I was greatly encouraged by that, so I kept preaching, and we got Scotland, Africa, different places, and now I was working a job around the corner over here, and I don't know, some of you maybe you're not as bad off as I am. But in my upper 60s, I got to thinking I was worthless. Nobody wanted to hear me preach. I had to go to doing a live stream in my living room to have somewhere to preach, and plus that we're still on a radio station up in Ava, Illinois. They just did an interview with us the other day. And so I went to the boss and I said, I got to have some answers. I got to go before God. I need 3 days off from work. 3 days? What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to take 3 days and fast. It's not real long, but it'd be long for me. You can tell I don't do a lot of it by looking at me. And so I did that. And for 3 days, I told my wife, don't bother me. We're not going out to eat. Don't tell them I'm not going nowhere. I'm staying right here in the house. And for 3 days, I would read my scriptures, meditate, and pray. Read my scriptures, meditate, and pray. Sing a song to myself, pray, and fast. I didn't know the world existed, and they didn't know I existed. And from there, I come out, nothing happened. But long story short, I wound up with being invited to Uganda, and that's part of their modus operandi, is to get American people over, get them involved in what's going on, and get support to do their ministry. People, well, that's crooked. No, it's not. They have to. They tell you up front, and they need money to. You need money. You just took an offering up. I gave in it. So, it's nothing. We got to have that for to operate. Well, I went to Uganda, and in the past 2 years, long story short, doors opened up. People heard me. I've been to Uganda 3 times, to Rwanda once, and just got back from Pakistan. Now, when I was invited, I didn't have to break into my savings account because I didn't have one. I couldn't get into my 401k because I'd done spent my retirement. We don't have a big bunch of money in our we're able to pay the bills, and that's about it. So I thought, how? You know, and I said, well, God, if you want me to go, you just have to do it. Well, he did. The money just come, brrr. I didn't have to beg. I didn't have to cry. It just dropped right in my lap. So I went to Uganda, and I saw such great needs. All people, you ought to stand up and just thank God you are born in this country right here. Because you'll never know how fortunate you are until you go over there and see nothing but squalor and filth and poverty and lack and want and disease everywhere you turn. And, you know, I saw a lot of that, but I did find we went out in those villages, way out there in those villages, and I found out all you had to do is put up something over there and go to singing, and man, they'd come out of the bushes, large crowds, and they'd come up wanting to be prayed for, pray for me and all like that. But I saw the needs of those ministries there, and they'd show me our car's broke down, it's got this, it's busted, and the guy was a mechanic, said, hey, it'd take every bit of $10,000, $15,000. I said, you just well buy a new one. You get it over there. And I said, but Lord, how? Surely you don't expect me. And it come back to me on a message I preached one time. We all know the story of the fishes and loaves, where Jesus, there's several thousand people out here. And he calls his disciples over there, and he said, give them something to eat. They said, let's send them away. He said, no, you give them something. That's funny. We've got 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. And you're telling us to, and it dawned on me, sometimes God will put a calling on you to do something that you have no way in this world of doing in your own power. That, I'm not bragging, I'm just showing you what God can do. And it wasn't my savings, I didn't have any. But when I got back from where we wound up buying a car for that man, we wound up sending over $25,000 over there. That's just, it just come. Well, from there, other invitations came. The last one that I went to was Pakistan. We'll talk about that in just a moment. There was a woman. At that time, I wouldn't have known her if she had walked through the door back there. I didn't know her. But she listened to me every week on the radio. And she found out where we lived. And she come and she brought a very large amount of money to me. And said, God has told me to supply. And then when we did that, other people gave when I announced we're going over to Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is 96% Muslim. When I got there, they told me, when you go into these churches, preach. That's fine. Don't say nothing against the Quran, and don't say nothing against Muhammad, and don't go out on the street and preach. Because if you do, you're out of our hands. You're gone. So I took them at their word and didn't do that. I even asked myself, do I even need to be here? I mean, they had security guard, government appointed security for me that went with me, surrounded, stood on my, like this. And if I was in public, I said, guys, I need a bathroom. You stay here. And they'd bring me over, and they'd go in and search through the bathroom and come out and tell me, now you can go in and use it. At any rate, let me read just a couple of scriptures to you before we get into that. And as Pastor was saying, out of just sticking a guitar around my neck and singing on live stream, and I didn't even know how to set the computer up. I had to learn how to do that, and I still don't think I know how exactly what I'm doing. But from there, I got an invitation. Oh, and I'll tell you, yesterday, I got another invitation, and we're planning another trip over there in March. Me and a gentleman from West Virginia plan on going. And from that, I'm having a senior moment. I've lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Okay. I got an invitation yesterday to come and preach on Christian television over there. And I said, well, I don't know. I've never done. And Paul Crouch helped set them up. And they said, guess what they told me? We saw your preaching on Facebook, your live stream, and we'd like for you to come. So many times I've found out that God is waiting on me to do something. And he doesn't do anything until I step out and do something. That may not be the rule to live by at all times, but that's if you got your Bible, I just want to read a few verses to you. And it's true. There's a lot of people in need here in the United States. We have welfare program, food stamp program. They don't have that in those other countries. And there's an old saying, there's not an old saying, I read it off of Facebook, I think. But when you look at the need everywhere, I went and seen it everywhere. And it dawned on me, you can't help all these people. You can't. It's a bottomless pit. It would bankrupt Bill Gates. And I read this on the Facebook when I was mulling all this in my mind. How am I going to, what? Because it just seemed like the burden come upon me. It came to me, the money came, and so I said, I think you're wanting me to go. I hope you are, because I ventured out over there not knowing anybody or nobody and just went. But the thing on Facebook says, you cannot do all that this world needs, but the world needs all the good you can do. I thought that was pretty good. Read Proverbs 19. Put my specs on to see that one. Proverbs 19, look at verse 17. Who in here likes to loan money out? Oh, why not? I listened to Pat Robertson one time, and he said, don't ever loan a friend some money. If they're in need, give it to them. You'll make an enemy if you loan it to them. But you can loan God some money. He don't need a cosigner, and he don't need collateral. He owns the whole world. Look at verse 17. Everybody got that? He that hath pity upon the poor, what's he do? He lends to the Lord, and that which he hath given will he pay him again. He that helps the poor and has mercy on the poor, you make a loan to God, and he'll pay you back. That's what the scripture just said. Now look at chapter 21 and look at verse 13. And I'm not trying to lay a guilt trip on you. I just want you to know what the scriptures say. It says, whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. That's pretty self-explanatory. Let's just go on over another. Yeah, go right on over there where I lost my place. That'll work. Okay, chapter 29 of Proverbs. And you look at verse 7. It says, the righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. Well, I can't do anything about that. Shows you who's what and what's who. Now, this is what I plan to do. And this is chapter 31. This is my last verse to read. Verse 9. It says, open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy, because they can't. They can't. I don't know what you folks do here. I know many churches support missions, orphans, and things like that. So I don't know. But I stumbled across something while in Pakistan. And I'm going to take you on a little journey here in just a moment. And I couldn't just let it go. And I had to do whatever I could do. Like I said, I'm not a man of great influence. I'm not a man of great wealth. I'm not a man of wealth at all. I'm not a man that has got connections of people in high places. None of that. But I do have one connection in a high place. And you know something? He lays that burden on you, and you think, how am I going to do this? You go back, you're standing there with the disciples. How in heaven's name am I going to feed this multitude with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread, and there's 5,000 people out here? You know, God, you're just not right asking me to do something. Come on, supply it. Well, he did, but it wasn't until they moved out and done something. Get the people to sit down and let you move out and start doing something in faith. So I said I'd come back, lonesome by myself, and I was going to do something, and I'd tell about it anywhere a door opened, and so I did. I wound up going in March. I went to Pakistan. Was I a little bit, yeah, I was. The Christian church functions there, but they're discriminated against. It's hard for them to get any kind of a job. I know of one brother, I met him, hugged him, his wife are dear to me. They sent me a shirt for my birthday and everything else. And while I was over there, they met and brought flowers to me. I don't know if we're going to show any of that stuff. I hope not. And big things they put around your neck. And anyway, you know, he works for a Muslim company. And they make shirts with scriptures on them. But he works 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for $95. And they're discriminated against. Some of them can't even get a job. I know one brother, know him, sat in his home, preached in his church over in Uganda. He's having a real rough time. We've supported him until our missions fund we drained it dry. I can't support no more. And he has rent on his house, rent on his church building, and he's had Muslims come and offer him jobs, nice, good paying. Now, folks, this will put you to the test. We'll give you a job. I'm out of groceries. I need a job. I need to pay my rent. I have no money coming in. I have nothing. We'll give you a job. Oh, good. When do I start? Well, there's one little thing. You got to become a Muslim, which means you got to renounce Christianity and say, I'm a Muslim now. I'm not a Christian no more. You got to deny Christ. That's one form of the mark of the beast as I see it. So, you know, he won't do it. So they suffer. And he's not alone. There's several of them like that they suffer and they try to get things done. And so many times out of desperation, they'll contact you and me to try to get the support that they need in order to carry on the work of God. They've got a bunch of orphans sitting there looking to them. And then there are some of them that's fake. They are. You know, there's only one way to keep from that. Just be cautious and weed through them as you go. Anyway, let's go ahead. When I got there, they said we put together a crusade. Said we've got buses coming in and all that. Buses? Okay, I figured we'd go out and see at the most a couple 100, 300 people. Well, we come around the corner, and I heard a bunch of noise, and they had these walls up, and they opened the door, and the police said, you stay there, and they slammed the door, and I heard them outside talking. They opened the door. All right, you come out. When I got out, there were cameras. There were big cameras with things looked like a submarine scope on them, click and pick. And up through there, they followed me, and I thought, do you people know I'm just some guy from over in Missouri? And I come around the corner, and I looked, and go ahead, and there it is. There's a picture of the crusade that we did. That's my translator standing up there. That's Sonia, Pastor Sonia. Incidentally, I have talked to the mission director, world mission director in Cleveland of the Church of God, because she wants to do church work among the Bricklands, which I'll show you in a moment. And she just wants affiliation and wants support and all like that. So, she is looking to get affiliated with the Church of God. And I'm hoping that she does that because she needs to be connected with somebody. And there's another picture. I mean, I thought, what have I got into here? Man, this is more than we had in Africa. And when the invitation was given, they come and they crowded around the others. Now, you can't see that outfit on, but they took and fitted me with that. That's one of those Islamic, it goes down kind of like a dress on a guy, and then they put a vest on me, and they got back, and I thought, please don't make me wear this silly-looking thing up there. And they said, oh, you look so gorgeous. Don't hold off on that one just a moment. And I thought, I'm gorgeous. That's interesting. At any rate, we preached to them. The response was tremendous. This response, and they were people reaching out and wanting, and I said, why don't they get some? They said, you don't understand. You're from America. I said, I'm not closer to God than you are. You're just as close. You've got as much access as I. You don't understand. They know you're not here to get money. They know that you're here and you come from America to this place, and it's dangerous for you. So they believe you're a messenger from God, and they want you to pray for it. Well, testimonies are still coming in of some great, and I don't know, I've asked my wife, what is it? I can't get her healed of back trouble. I can't get a fly healed of a headache here. But over there we had tremendous results. We had people with tumors, and they're on my Facebook wall. I think you can go and watch the man with the tumor. It just another man with diabetes with his back split wide open, and it wouldn't heal up. It healed up. The diabetes is gone. Another lady they brought to me in one place and said, Pastor Bruce, she wants you to pray for her. Said she's pregnant, and the baby has died in her womb. And and I thought, why don't you bring somebody with a headache or something, somebody with a dead baby in their womb? So I just went over and I was going to pray. Instead of pray, I said, death, leave the child, and life return in the name of Jesus Christ, and let it go. I went back to the motel room disturbed. Next day, on the way to where that picture is showing where we're at, the very next day, they were sitting in the van talking, and they said, oh, Pastor Bruce. I said, yeah, what are you excited about? You know that woman you prayed for that had the dead baby in her? So she went back to the doctor to discuss removing it, and said it come back to life. And said, and we saw such things as that, and saw people come to Christ. Now, we done the meetings, I preached in the church, we saw great results. I could sit here and tell story after story after story after story of there, and we went to Rwanda. Rwanda's another place that's got a history you wouldn't believe. Does anyone remember in 1994 when the Hutus and the Tutsis were in a civil war over there? The Hutus almost exterminated the Tutsi tribe, killed 1 million of them, just because they were Tutsis. And there's a big memorial raised. I went to see that. At any rate, they take me to the Bricklands. That is a place of despair of the worst kind. Because what happens, those people get needing money. I know that nobody here has ever needed money except for me. Nobody ever needs any money. Well, they get to needing it, and so they do what we all do at one time or another. We borrow it. And then there's one little catch with borrowed money. It has to be paid back. Well, when these people offer their hands, I've got the money to help you. And sometimes they're in a situation where they're going to be in big. Over there, you can't file bankruptcy. You can't just walk away and I'll pay you when I can. No, you'll pay it now. And you ain't got, then you better get it. You can go to the brick pit and he'll give you the money. But you become his servant. And that system is so set up, I don't care what amount you borrow. I don't care how much it is. You're not going to pay it off. There's all kinds of downfall. You can sit out there and work, and they work 14 hours a day. Their wives work. Their children work. Their life is not normal. Children can't go to school. They grow up being illiterate and ignorant, not learning to read or write. That's a big disadvantage. And they don't know anything. And they're just subjected to whatever treatment they dish out to them. These are professed Christians, and they're slaves to Muslims. And they're without heart. They're without heart whatsoever. Now, what happens if a man just stays, which he does, he'll stay there. If there's no deliverance, he'll stay there until he dies. What happens? It passes right on to his children. His children stay there until they die. The man gets free labor and free servants because he's got this debt. And if they're out there and they make a bunch of bricks out of the mud and it comes a rain, it rains them, they lose all the brick. If it rains and the weather gets bad a few days, then they need some groceries. They go to the boss. He loans them a little more money to give them a few groceries, and it ensures he keeps them there. They never get out unless somebody comes and pays that debt. Now, I want to say this. Well, go ahead and let's show a couple more pictures that I took there. That we just took, that's Sonia. She's my translator, and her husband, Emmanuel. Incidentally, she didn't go anywhere. She stuck with me, but he stuck with her. Well, why wasn't it around? He can't speak English very well. She speaks it pretty good. And so she was there working with us, and had connections at the embassy and helped me get a visa so I could get in the country. And she went to the government, and they arranged for the guards that I had. So it worked out. I saw the hand of God in it. Why me? I have no idea. Why did God just say, I want you to go do it? And what does he want for the future? I'm not for sure. But I believe he wants me to do all I can, and that I'm going to do. Now, we went there that day. I just showed you a picture there of Sonia and her husband. Now, stay right there with this little fella. We showed you a picture or two of these other people making bricks. Their wives, their husbands, their children, they all work, and they're not leaving. Anyway, I've got my pictures here. Turn around. Let me see where we're at. I went walking over. They said, come on. We went walking up. And there was a little mound of dirt and a little girl playing upon it. When she saw me, I know I'm ugly, but I didn't think I was that bad, because she starts screaming, ah, ah, and she takes off and running. And I thought, okay. I thought it was bad when I was turned down for a date in high school, but that really is a bad one for the ego. They told me, they said, Pastor Bruce, you're a stranger. You're dressed nice. I said, nicely? I'm in a pair of blue jeans. They said, well, you're dressed nicely to them. And hold that picture there of this little fella just a moment, if you would. And so they said, this little girl thinks you've come from the office to beat her. We found out that they beat them. They have that right to do. If you don't make enough bricks, we'll beat you, make you wish you had made bricks. Well, this little fella, I seen him, and he can't walk hardly. He's got things around his legs. He has to be carried. So they stand him out there to hold on to a chair. I mean, how cruel can you get? You stand right there. Don't you move. I'll beat you if you move with a club. And they do that. I'll tell you about it here in just a minute. Well, I go over there walking, and they said, he's scared of you, Pastor Bruce. Said, he thinks you're from the office. Well, tell him I'm not. And the little fella does this number when I get there. And I come over, and I finally took his hand. Little fella, I wouldn't hurt you for nothing. Well, later, his mother and his father explained things to him, and they brought him to me to be prayed for, and he was smiling. And I patted him on, and he smiled. Now, it does my heart good to tell you, he's not there no more. We paid them out. They're gone. There was one couple that came, to the ones that actually arranged for us to be there. He's not in good health, so they make his wife work. Well, his wife was expecting a child. And the reason they come and was telling me the story with the translator, Sonia, the girl standing there beside me right there with that blue scarf around her. Over there, if she goes to the store, she better have her husband with her, or her father, or somebody like that. Women don't go out by themselves over there. Ladies, don't you dare think about going to Walmart by yourself, because you will get in big time trouble. You better go with your husband. Isn't that wonderful, guys? We get to go to shopping with our wives. They have to do that. But at any rate, this man come over there, and he was telling me the story, and she was crying. Have you ever seen anybody that their face almost looked disfigured with sorrow and anguish, and I don't know if they'd ever smiled in their life. And what had happened, she had gotten pregnant. And she was having, ladies, sometimes when you're in a pregnancy, you can experience some problems. And so she went and laid down. I just got to lay down a few minutes. My back is killing me, and she laid down. Well, the owner caught her laying down. And he beat her so bad she lost that baby. And she said, now I'm having complications and I can't get to a doctor this side over here, and they keep beating me to make me make more bricks. And she said, and the poor thing, look, I thought this is, and I just stood there a minute and I said, well, how much would it take to get them out of here? And they talked back and forth and they said, Pastor Bruce, it's a lot of money. And I said, well, I know, and I probably don't have it, but tell me how much it will take. And they talked some more, and they looked over me and said, $700. I said, I've got that much in ministry expense in my pocket. I've got a little left. I've got enough to take care of my expenses, and I can spare this. Tell them to go home and pack their stuff. They'll leave. If I don't do no more than this one, they're getting out of here. Well, they said, you can't do it. We got to go through the lawyer and the police. And said, if you went up there right now, they'd call the police. You'd wind up in jail. Said, you just stay here. So I stayed there. But I told them, I said, you tell them as soon as we get back to the motel, I'm making arrangements. And they did. Hello? They're gone from there. So far as to date, I will tell you that we have liberated 6 families and raised $7,500. And we've used every dime of that, every penny of that, every nickel of that to get families out of there. And they don't like us. They're not happy with what we're doing. But as long as we can do it and kind of slip under the wire and do it, then we're going to. Now, go right on. That's that little fella. They're gone. They're out of there. And he's my little buddy now. So go on to the next picture, if you would. This man here caught me out walking out through there. And this is an ugly fact. But you see these young ladies here? They wouldn't be safe over there at all if they were in a Brickland. Because there's certain Muslim guys come and we're going to borrow your daughter for a minute. Like it or not, that's what's going to happen. If you don't like it, we'll borrow your wife. And this man come to me and said, it's dangerous for me here. My children are in danger. And he went to crying and said, can you please help me? And fell on my arm like that. Go to the next picture, if you would. And there he is. He just cried. And there's his daughter standing there directly behind him, and his wife with that black thing over. And then he's got 2 little children here. And he was so concerned for their safety. And he said, and I said, sir, I can't make any promises, but I'll go to God. Well, he's gone. They're out of there. We've got them. Now, go on to the next picture. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. That is plastic wrapped around that boy's leg. He found it in the trash. And that is where the owner beat him. He's stuck there. I can't remember what family he was with. Sonia sends me the information, but I don't know. But, excuse me, you see they don't wear shoes. They're in the mud. They just work in mud and dirt all day long. Hard labor, 14 hours a day. And you better make some brick or we're going to beat you. And they beat him and opened up a place there on his leg. That's dirty. It's, and I had a clean handkerchief that I hadn't used. And I said, let me take that off and wrap this up in my... No, they wouldn't have nothing to do. Don't want your clean handkerchief. We wouldn't dare take your nice clean handkerchief. Well, I got 100 of them at the house. And, but that boy we talked to, and he just works like a dog. And that's his life right there. He goes nowhere. He does nothing. He doesn't go out to eat. He doesn't play games. He doesn't go to a ball game. He doesn't have a church. They're off on Sundays, but that's what Sonia's wanting to do, is go down there and have some kind of church service, and she needs backing, so she's appealing to the Church of God if they're interested. And that's what I told the mission director. I said, if you're interested, these are not a bunch of scammers. I've been there. I've been in their home, more set in their home. They hosted me. I said they're wanting to do the Lord's work. So I put them in touch with one another, and they'll have to work it out from there. But there's him. Go ahead to the next one. Now, that's where one of them lives, going through the front gate. We're going in there. Sonia's leading the way, and I'm right behind her. And then behind, that's one of the security, the police that was security guards with us. And if you'll notice, they've got some decoration over there on the left side of the wall. Does anybody know what that is? Not you. Does anybody here know what that is? That's what they cook their food with. They make fires out of that. It's manure. They patty that up and put it on a wall, and that's what they cook with. It's all they've got to cook with. Go ahead to the next. I think the next one is the, there's their stove. They take that and they cook on that right there with manure. And that's what they cook with, and that's what they eat. Now, up in town, we didn't, I stayed in a motel, and it's more modern. I even had hot water for my shower there. I didn't in Rwanda one time, Uganda rather. But any rate, that's us in America. We're used to, where's my hot water at? And people don't know nothing about some of that stuff. Anyway, that's what those people live with. That little boy back there, that's Eric. He ding-donged me for chocolate bars. I brought some from here and took them over there. Him and his brother, they was going just like that. We want more. Well, I'm sorry. It didn't. But anyway, that little boy's, as the way they put it to me, he's a good boy, but he is too much naughty. And I found out to be that. But that's what they cook with, is that. Now, we did get the people together in a place, in a little warehouse like. And I talked with them, and I said, I'm not a man, I don't have a big business with tons of money, and I can make you big promises. I can't. The only thing I can do is tell you that I will go home and do what I can to help you. Well, Sonia tells me they're calling. I said, some of them are calling, Pastor Bruce. I said, I've sent you $7,500. You'll have to wait. If it doesn't come in, I can't help. I'm not going to resort to some of these shenanigans and tricks and pressuring and begging and pleading and getting online and come on, give me I'll promise you to get $1 million back. And I'm not going to do all that. I put the need out wherever I can, and it's up to God. So that's, at any rate, she said there are several of these people that have made a profession of faith in Christianity, and they haven't been baptized. Would you baptize them? I said, yeah. Well, I talked to them there and told them that they're in the gathering like this, and told them I'd do what I could. And I said, those of you that are not serving Jesus, I went through a few scriptures, whosoever call on the name of the Lord, etc., etc. You know all of those. And so we went out and we baptized 25 people. Go ahead to the next. There's the little pool that some of them bought and blowed it up. They carried water from down over a hill. We'd have them sit down like that, and Emmanuel and I performed the service. And what made it dangerous, now that I'm back here, one of those people that came to me was an aged man with wrinkles in his face, and he was a Muslim. Now, you can go to jail or die if you convert a Muslim. And that's as one of them explained to me with their broken English, they said, Pastor Bruce, I don't know how to say the word in English. I don't know, but said, what it is they take your head from your neck. I said, that's called cutting your head off. She said, yeah, they do that. They take your head from your neck if you convert a Muslim. Said, we have them come to our church service. In fact, one of my police officers I found out was a Muslim, and he kept coming up to me, and he'd stand there, and he'd smile. I'd say, how you doing today? I fine. And he said, you pray for me. And I found out that they want Christians to pray for them, but they're sort of a little hesitant because it could cost them their life to convert to Christianity. If not, high fines. But the man, Emmanuel, the boy right there in the yellow shirt helping me, he had a little moped bike. And he goes to various areas and out there they said, nobody comes out here to preach to these people. I said, nobody. So said, we're trying to bring them the word of the Lord, try to show them a few things and all like that. About 2-hour drive in a van from where I was staying, where they live. But he's going on his little, and incidentally, we have took $1,000 and got them $1,000 worth of Bibles, and he's taking them down. Will they catch him? What are you doing taking these Bibles? We don't want Bibles around here. We're Muslims. Well, I'm taking, he wouldn't tell them, but what he was doing was, I'm taking these Bibles to give them to Muslims in hopes they'll read it and God will use it and save them. We're trying to reach out. That's the last thing Jesus left us, was go and make disciples and baptize those disciples and teach them. That was the last marching orders that he gave us prior to his leaving. And so he's trying to, he's been arrested 2 times. They beat him up. I said, what'd they do? And they showed me that they didn't know how to say it. So his wife grabbed his hair, and I said, you enjoy that, don't you? And she grabbed his hair and said they pull, and then they smack him around. And then they imposed a fine on him, and his wife got to try to gather this fine together. His wife, they all dress in some of the colorful clothing, but they live in a house. Like in Uganda, I saw women come out of homes dressed in something they look like a queen, and I got a shed at my house that's a mansion compared to what they were living in. They live in a little bitty old 3-room, 4, I guess, if you count that little kitchen area that they had. They're not rich people, but they, at any rate, I don't know where I was at here. If there's everything okay here. Anyway, Manuel, he's been in there a couple of times. And so he helped me baptize the people. You to the next baptismal picture there. So as I said, I come back, and I decided I would do something. What time? Oh, yeah, it's 12. We've got to hurry up here. And so I've sent money over there. I've kept none of it for myself. Every dime I've got, I've sent over there. Now, the next picture there, I don't know why they put that's them, and they're negotiating the deal to free one of the people. That's Sonia and her husband. And you can go on to the next one if you want. That's the woman who was beaten and lost her child, and they are now free. They're happy. They're loading up and getting ready to go. Go ahead. You can show the next picture. That's her. She was just overwhelmed. When I told her that day, I said, I'm going to send the money and get y'all out of here. She fell down on dirt and grabbed my. I said, no, get up from there. Get up. We don't have none of that. And you don't owe me that, no way. So there she is. She's very happy. Go ahead and let's go to the next one. There's their little boy. That's the man right there. I think his son is, or no, he's the one with the daughters he was very concerned about. It's his wife standing there. And the boys, let's get out of here. He's loading their suitcase, I guess. And I say this lovingly, but the stuff they load up, you and I'd throw on the dump. And but that's what they've got. So now I want to tell you something that happened since I come back. Like I said, to date we have sent them $7,600. I'll have another offering here in a few days, and some come in the mail yesterday. And not a lot, but people are giving. I'd like to see the church in America get more involved with their suffering brethren in other countries, because they're working under burden, under persecution, under stress that you and I don't know anything about. And we need to be sympathetic and, first off, really, really remember them in our prayers. Really remember them in our prayers. Well, when I came back, I walked in the Y. I like to go over to the Y and walk, because I don't have dogs chasing me or anything like that. Up in Bertrand where I walk around, get back now, here, get back. And they don't have that, so I like walking. Plus that, I get it free. And so I was down there, and when I walked in, somebody, hey, the lady that runs this wants to see you. It's, are you the man who went to Pakistan? Well, somebody's talking about it, I guess. And so I told them what was up, and one of the ladies that works there, she's got a son. Please go to that next B number. That is Jackson from right here in Sykeston. It's all I know his name. I believe is Jackson Cooper. You know what Jackson did? If you go out in my car and look here on the mirror, there's a little string with a cross on it. Jackson heard my story, and Jackson was touched. And he went and got on the computer and made these little crosses with Jesus on them with a string around. And he goes down the street selling them, telling people I'm raising money to help free families who are in slavery. And he brought me right there in that picture $500. So I think that's mighty awesome that you've got an 11-year-old boy that will do something like that. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm just making you aware of it. Whatever you do or don't do, we're still brothers in the Lord. And I'll still show up once in a while when you're having revival or service. Incidentally, the last one, I sat back there and that brother, and you all got up here and carried on something. You carried on something awful. I raised a church where we didn't do that. And I remember the first time I come into a Church of God service, and I thought, what is this? At any rate, it wasn't 2 nights later till I was acting just like them. And my mother said, son, what kind of church is that you're going to? And I said, I just went up there and visited. I said, Mom, they done the strangest. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I honestly thought this. I said, I thought they was Episcopalian and they preach in another language or something, Greek or something, Latin. She said, why? I said, because they was up going mama, mama, he, hi, and stuff like that. And she said, oh, they're speaking in tongues. Son, stay away from that. You'll get messed all up. Well, I didn't take her advice. And you know what? It wasn't long till I come home from work on the second shift. It's 11 o'clock at night. And pulled up in front of the Full Gospel Tabernacle at Sellersburg, Indiana. And some of them, hey, there's Brother Bruce. Hey, Brother Bruce. I said, where's Mommy at? Well, she's still inside. And I walk in there. Right there in front of the altar laid Mama talking in tongues. I said, Mom and Daddy, I said, Mama, Daddy's going to be awful upset about this. But, you know, she went right on with it and become a Sunday school teacher and done all that. And there's kids remember her to this day. So, at any rate, I've talked a lot, and I've tried to explain to you just a few of the highlights of what happened to me on a recent mission trip to Pakistan. And as I said, we're making plans, if the Lord will, to go back in March. Because there was people that come to them saying, that man, and I said, I don't have a special anointing and all that. I don't have it. I've got the Holy Ghost. It's a special anointing. But I said, they said, well, they want you to back. Said, we want to plan 2 crusades in 2 large cities and just advertise it as a healing, salvation crusade. And said, you know, they'll bring the sick to us from everywhere. And I said, well, let's just plan on that. And if God makes the way, then we'll go. And see great things. And this brother in West Virginia, he's ready. So we plan on doing that. Meanwhile, I try to continue outreach to Uganda and do what I can there. I've just about run out of everything. I don't know what. We're waiting on God to see what he says. But right now, can you all play that little clip? While I was out there, I told them. Yeah.
Are we going? Yes. Okay, I'm Bruce Paul to my Facebook friends. And those in the United States, I'm standing right now in Pakistan. And I'm standing in the midst of the brick pits. And the situation here is beyond anything I ever thought. I've never seen such broken people and such hopeless situations. I've never wanted to get on anywhere and beg for money. But there's just a few $100s would help some of these entire families, their children. One little boy I talked to a while ago was scared to death of me. He thought I was from the owner and that I was going to beat him. And they get beat, and this is not a job. This is slavery. And anywhere from $500 to $1,000 will get some of these people out of this mess. And so I just want you to know, I'm coming home, and when I do, I'm going to do everything I can to represent them and present their need before people, because the living situation, no human being should have to live like this. It's tore my insides out. I go ahead and shut it off. I was upset because, as I said a while ago, you and I can't do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs us to do all the good we can.